Before we get started, I want to give a special thanks to this week's sponsor, Anchor, which is the app that I'm using to record this podcast today. It allows you to record your audio and distribute it so that way you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. It makes managing your podcast simple, enjoyable, and stress-free. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So if you're interested in recording your own podcast and getting paid to do what you love, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hello, thank you for tuning into this podcast. My name is Megan and I run my own holistic health coaching practice called Megan Garza Wellness. The name of this podcast is Restoring Balance with Megan Garza, where I will be talking about all things health ranging from nutrition, sleep, relationships, spirituality, finances, hormones, and even topics that go against the typical narrative. So not just things about health, but other open-minded topics that I feel compelled to talk about. So a lot of different topics in life. I have not decided on the actual day of the week that this will be released, but I'm thinking somewhere around Fridays or Saturdays, so definitely stay tuned in the future and I will keep you updated on that. So this podcast is not going to be telling you how to live your life a certain way or even how to live as the healthiest version of you, because that is unique to the individual. And by saying, yeah, if you follow these steps, X, Y, Z, you're going to be healthy, because that's not necessarily true. It's not just about exercising and eating the right foods. There's really a lot more to health than meets the eye. So I'm just going to be sharing my experience and what I've learned over the years, reading articles and books and other things. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce myself and give a little bit of a backstory on why I'm here and why I'm so compelled to share my experiences and to help others reach optimal health. So I'm Megan and I'm 22 years old. I'm married. I've been married for about a year now to a wonderful husband named Lewis, who is just absolutely amazing and supports me with everything that I do. And then a little bit of background about my credentials. I am an IIN certified holistic health coach. And I recently graduated, but I feel like it's been something that has just come so natural to me. And I also do have a certification in teaching yoga. So the 200-hour RYT is what I am certified in. I was teaching yoga, but then the pandemic happened and I got laid off. So that's when I decided to switch gears and really go full force with health coaching. So that's where I'm at right now. And a little bit about hobbies. I really enjoy paddleboarding and yoga and biking and just spending time with family and being around people who I enjoy. I feel like social media is definitely a guise. So I know that many people use it as a tool, and I have been using it as a tool, but that is one of the biggest reasons that I am on a podcast now, is because of the fact that Instagram has really been beefing up their measures to, how do I want to say it? To protect the viewers from reading certain information about natural health. But, the way I look at it, it's not protection. It's just flat out censorship, and they're infringing on our freedom of speech. So that's why I'm moving more over to my own website and a podcast, so that way I can articulate what I have to say and not censor my language, because I don't roll like that. Not at all. So a little bit about what got me into health. So this is definitely going to be a story, because it's a very, very long story, and I'm going to do my very best to condense it. But yeah, I was definitely not raised holistically at all. Everything was always going to the doctor if something was wrong, very conventional medicine type thing. And it definitely, as I got older, I started realizing it wasn't working. But starting from the beginning, when I was 4, I was diagnosed with ADHD and I was medicated for that. My thoughts on that I will not dive into right now. That's definitely a topic for another day that I will talk more about because I feel like that's really important. But anyways, I very quickly felt like my health was being compromised after I was put on that medication. I would have horrible stomach aches. I would wake up and I would start dry heaving and feel very nauseous. I would have no appetite, quite frequently. And this is something that went on for years. Of course, when I was in school, I would be on the medication and all of these symptoms would come back, and every single school year they would definitely get worse. And as I grew up, I was still on I was still on the medication for ADHD. And when I was an early teenager, somewhere around 11 or 12, well, I guess preteen, I experienced the death of several loved ones. And this really had a huge detrimental impact on me, and I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. The doctor thought that it would be a good idea to put me on depression medicine like SSRIs and antipsychotics. And I was a kid and I didn't know what I was talking about, so I just said, yeah, sure, sounds like a good idea. But lo and behold, as is often the case, my symptoms got much worse, and I started having suicidal ideations, and my tics got worse, my compulsive behaviors got worse, my depression got worse, my anxiety got worse. I was very withdrawn and nervous, and I couldn't leave the house a lot of the days. I almost dropped out of high school. That was later on, of course. And it seemed like nothing that I was doing was working on this medicine. And it definitely put me in a really bad place because of the side effects that it comes with, of course. And when I was around 14 or 15, I was trying to get out of the depression. I wanted to get out of the medication. I wanted to get off of the medication. And I didn't know how. But around this time, I was starting to develop acne. So my doctor put me on birth control pills and antibiotics, which I remained on for 3 years straight. And if you know anything about antibiotics, any kind of long-term antibiotic is going to have a huge impact on your health. And I can tell you it sure did. It was very hard to go through that because my physical symptoms started to get much worse when I was on these pills. The antibiotics just completely destroyed my health. No doctor should ever put somebody on antibiotics for that long of time. Why this doctor did that, that remains a mystery even to me, but I can definitely say that it was not the right thing to do because I suffered so much. And the medication really did create a lot of long-term health problems, much which I have reversed, but some I really do still struggle with. And I'm just saying that to keep it real and to not pretend that I'm something that I'm not, because I don't want to act like I have my life all put together, because I know that's what it really looks like oftentimes when you see people on social media. But it's really a guise, and that's why I wanted to do this podcast instead. So I would really be lying if I said that I was in perfect health, but I'm being completely honest when I say that I'm doing everything in my power to heal, and it just takes time. And depending on the amount of damage that's been done, it could take a while to reverse these symptoms. And, depending on the damage, you might not fully reverse that. And that's just the acceptance that I live with. And, I just have to be okay with that. But knowing that I'm doing everything in my power to heal my body and to take good care of myself, that's what really matters. So back to the story. I was on antibiotics, I was on antidepressants, ADHD medicine, birth control pills, medication for my stomach pain, like Tums and other medications. And when I was 15, 16, I definitely wanted to get off all the medication. I really didn't know how. I didn't have any guidance. the doctor would always tell me that I'm going to relapse and that there is nothing that I can do about it. But that's definitely, I feel like that was just a lie that the doctor said, so that way she could keep making money off of me. And eventually I did go off the medication when I was 17. I just did it cold turkey. And if you know anything about getting off SSRIs, which is antidepressants, that's extremely dangerous. You can go into seizures, you can have all kinds of horrible withdrawal symptoms, which my withdrawal symptoms, like severely, they lasted for about 3 to 4 months. But little things like tics and like mini blackouts, that would happen for like 2 years afterwards. And I know doctors don't really talk about this kind of stuff when you get off of the pills. So I was freaking out. I didn't know what was going on. I had a feeling that, that's what it was. But it was really, really hard because I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have anyone to say, yeah, that's what I went through as well. And I just kind of had to go with it. I was already off all the medications, so I kept going. And I was definitely pulling out of my depression at that time. And getting off the medication was something that was really powerful for me to break through, because all of it just made me feel like I was so numb. Like I couldn't feel my energy. I couldn't feel what I was feeling on the inside. My emotions were just so blocked, and it was like there was a wall in front of me. Like nothing would get through to me, and my thought process was just so controlled by these pills, and it was just so frightening to, especially now that I'm older and I look back, that's over 5 years ago, and it was just so frightening because of, it's like mind control with those pills. And for me, it was very, I don't know how to put it. It was just very crazy to experience that. And after I was off the medication, I had a near-death experience in an accident that I went through. And it really did change my perspective on everything. It showed me that there's a lot of value to my life, and that it doesn't matter. It told me not to be so selfish, because there was a long time where I just thought that I wanted to die. And once I got close to meeting God, it really showed me like, wow, I really don't want to die. This is ridiculous, how selfish of me. So it really opened up my spirituality again, and reconnecting with God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, and just how precious life was. And it really did change my life around, and I started going on a better track and really taking things seriously, taking my grades seriously, and really just getting my shit together. About a year after that, my now husband was diagnosed with kidney cancer. So we were not together at this point. We were just friends. He didn't want anything to do with me, but I loved him from the day that I met him. Of course, I wouldn't tell him that at the time, but when he was diagnosed with kidney cancer, that was just like, wow, that just shook my world, being so young and having to hear something like that. It was very traumatic, and he got an operation for it, and the cancer has not come back to this day, and I don't think that it ever will, just because of everything that we've done. But it was so hard to hear that, the diagnosis of, he has kidney cancer. It was in stage 2, very beginning, but I feel so fortunate that he's just so in tune with his body, and he felt that something was wrong, and he listened to that, even though, the doctors told him you're fine. And just taking care of him really, really, really showed me that there's a lot more to life than just me. And taking care of someone who is in that situation of vulnerability was not something that I wish upon anyone, because it's very hard to be a caregiver and to be taking care of someone in that condition. Not only are they hurt physically, but also emotionally too. There's a lot that's going on in someone's head after a surgery. He was a very active person before, and it was just dead stop after that. Nothing but bed rest, and it was just crazy to have him go through that and for me to witness it. And, I feel very blessed that I was by his side to help him through that. And looking back, I always feel like I could have done more for him. But, you live and you learn, and I did the best that I could at the time. But, he's 5 years post-op, I think, somewhere. Yeah, 5 years post-op. And he's riding bicycles, and he's doing so great. He's eating well, feeling better. And it's just incredible, like, how much the body can heal if you give it the right tools. But anyways, it was just insane because, the doctors told him you can go back to work in like 2 months. And for him to feel somewhat normal, it took him around 2 years. And this is what a lot of people do not understand about surgery. They think like, oh, the doctor just slices you open and they take this part out of your body and you're good to go. And it's a lot more complicated than that. Even I thought that at first. I was like, why are you so tired? Everything says that you should be good now. Your doctor said you're fine. But it really did have a tremendous impact on him. But this really did open my eyes up to how health is managed in the 21st century and where a lot of our downfall is going to be, just because of how it's very based on sick care management, not health care and prevention. But I look at this event as a blessing in disguise because of the fact that it really did open us up to the world of holistic and natural health and homeopathy and naturopaths and functional nutritionists and, all these other natural healers that I never knew about. Regardless of all of that, it doesn't make it any less difficult. And there are still times when physically he's not the same clearly as he was before, but for the most part I'm very pleased with how his recovery has gone. But it was very difficult to watch him go through that. And at this point, I think after he was starting to get better, I was around 19, yeah, somewhere around there, and my body was so inflamed. I'd been off the medication for a couple of years now. But, we're talking food sensitivities, abdominal pain, PMS, headaches, fatigue, poor concentration, and just acne all over my entire body. I'm not talking just 1 or 2 pimples. I mean cystic acne covering a big portion of my face, on my back, on my arms, on my chest, just everywhere. It was terrible. And, this was really the tipping point, and where I said to myself, something's not right. I need to fix this, or something worse is going to happen to me in the future. And this really, really pushed me through that door of going forward with it and really exploring my own health holistically, because at this point I didn't have any money for a doctor. And even if I did have the money for a doctor, my mistrust was just through the roof because of the doctor who put me on all those pills. He just screwed up my health so bad. So, why would I have wanted to trust a doctor back then? I didn't have any reason to. I was just so hurt, and, I felt so betrayed. And I was definitely on a quest to heal myself naturally. And at first I was very lost, of course. I didn't know what direction that I was going to take. But then I met my cousin-in-law, and she had really bad acne when she was younger. And she was talking to me about like, oh yeah, if you heal your gut, you can, get rid of your acne. And at the time that was like so new to me. I thought it was just a face scrub and then your acne goes away. But that's so not true. If you've ever dealt with acne, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And, her advice of just healing your gut and taking better care of yourself. And she also did introduce me to Young Living. So then this was like, okay, there are toxins in our everyday products. What do you mean by that? How does that happen? And that really did introduce me into the world of non-toxic living and just taking better care of myself. And I just started researching all that I could about nutrition. And, at that point, my stress levels were still through the roof. And I think when I was this age, I think when I was 19 or 20, I went vegan at that time, and oh my God, what a nightmare. Talk about just the worst possible diet for me. It was just so terrible. I am definitely not an advocate for veganism at all, and I respect your viewpoints if you are vegan, but for the most part, no, I don't believe that it works. And this is not only from my experience, but from many, many other people who have had very similar experiences, because my health just continued to deteriorate very rapidly when I was vegan. And I think that this is really important to talk about because of the fact that veganism is really touted as like the cure-all, but oftentimes it's not. You experience a detox period because you go from eating McDonald's and processed food and all this other crap to relatively clean, healthy fruits and vegetables, but then you start missing all these other important nutrients and you start getting sick. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm not here to talk about veganism. That's a topic for another day. But it was definitely something that I am never going to do again. I absolutely love bacon. I love eggs. I love raw milk. And there's just so much healing properties in all of those foods too. Now, I'm not here to say that, fruits and vegetables cannot be healing, because they can. But, my digestion was so compromised that any kind of raw vegetable was just absolute death and misery for me. And really learning about raw milk, I learned about raw milk at the beginning of 2019. And I met someone to buy milk from her. It was goat milk. And it was just like the most amazing thing I've ever tried. And that's when I really started to experience some real healing, is when I just started to let my body crave what it was craving and to honor that, and to not be in a constant state of fighting of, I'm craving this, but I shouldn't eat it because this YouTube guru tells me not to. Like, no, it's all about what your body's craving. And realistically, I come from European ancestry, and you look at what they ate, and they ate a lot of dairy. So for me to be lactose intolerant didn't make any sense. So at that point, my gut was in a okay state to be tolerating dairy, but the fact that it was A2 goat milk, goat milk is naturally A2, it was just so easy to digest. And like, there was this huge weight lifted off of my shoulders when I started exploring real food, and I started eating more meat again and really taking better care of my body and nourishing it and not fighting it. That's when I started to experience real healing for my acne and my digestion. And I started exercising, and not in the traditional sense of go run 5 miles and you're healthy, because that's not true. So what works for someone is not going to work for everyone. And especially when you're in a state of healing, you don't want to be running and burning out your adrenals. You want to really take care of yourself and take time to exercise and to do what feels right for you, because just because one person says this is what's going to work, that doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. But really taking time to exercise properly and to listen to my body when I was starting to feel fatigued. Toxins is another thing that I really started to address when I was looking into my health, because, toxins are everywhere. They're on, the paint on your wall, to the flame retardants on your couch, to the shampoo in your bathroom. It's everywhere around us. Even the cars that you're driving emit a bunch of toxins. So this was something that I was really curious about, because how do we avoid them when they're everywhere around us? And really diving deeper into this topic was something that I really was very passionate about, because they are everywhere and they are difficult to avoid, especially if you don't know what you're looking for. Stress is a major trigger for me. Even if I experience short bursts of stress, I sometimes have a tendency to have a low stress tolerance, so I will overreact to things. And it's just about rewiring that part of your brain to react calmly whenever things happen that are triggers for you. So even today, when I feel like I'm experiencing a lot of stress, like either recently we moved out and we got a dog and my digestion was just a wreck. My skin was breaking out again. It wasn't terrible, but it was definitely noticeable that I was under a lot of stress. So keeping my stress in check and really managing that was something that has been tremendously helpful for me. Sleep is also another thing that is really overlooked. I think that people are starting to understand how important it is, but I know for a long time it was very, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I gotta hustle, hustle, hustle. There's no time for sleep kind of thing. And that's not a positive way to treat your body. That's not a badge of honor to wear of, oh, I only slept 4 hours last night. Like that's not something to be bragging about, to be mistreating your body. And I've always been really okay. I've always been pretty good with sleeping. But for the longest time, especially after my husband's cancer surgery, I was always just on edge. My sleep was so bad, and I'm pretty sure it's because I just burnt my adrenals out, but I would wake up for every little sound. I used to be such a heavy sleeper. Like I literally fell asleep at a racetrack one time. I slept through a hurricane and multiple other things that should have woken up any normal person. So I could definitely tell that my sleep was really screwed up. And up until recently, about 3 months ago, that's when I really got my sleep under control. And wow, let me tell you what a huge difference it's made, because my life has just changed so much. But it's also about honoring your circadian rhythm and not being on your electronics right before bed, and going to bed at a consistent time and not doing anything too strenuous, and exposing your skin to sunlight in the morning, and all those good things that are just so beneficial for your body to achieve optimal sleep. And this is something that I think more people need to definitely do, because it seems like everyone I talk to says that their sleep has been so terrible. And that's just the 21st century that we live in. There's LED lights all over the streets. We have EMF bombarding us all the time. So definitely taking your sleep seriously is very important. Another thing is blood sugar. Blood sugar has been something that I've also been managing for the past several months, and it's been a huge game changer in terms of my acne, especially. My acne has just improved tremendously. It was already pretty good, but I mean, now it's just hormonal breakouts when I'm, on my menstrual cycle. And I think that that's a really good sign to show that my metabolic health is definitely getting in order, and that, I'm just becoming healthier overall. And all of these things, I started addressing the sleep and the blood sugar a couple months ago when I started working with a functional nutritionist who's been helping me out a lot. And I think that it's great because, for a while it was just like, oh, my ego is telling me that I know exactly what I'm doing. But working with her has been really tremendously beneficial, because I knew I had low stomach acid, but she was able to help me get on the right supplement and really take care of that. And, I still have problems with my stomach acid. I'm not going to say that I'm 100% healthy and perfect, because there might be some damage that is irreversible. And just being accepting of that is something that I'm trying to work on as well. But for the most part, it's pretty good. It's gotten a lot better than it was. I'm not up in pain all night. So that's definitely a huge bonus. But yeah, she's been super helpful and super cool to work with, very polite and sweet. Hormones is also another thing that I have been really working on balancing. So drinking teas like green tea and ashwagandha for my adrenals, and raspberry leaf has been really helpful. Just managing my sleep as well and getting rid of all the toxins. I did that years ago, detoxing my kitchen, my cleaners, bathroom, my bed, is the next thing that I'm going to have to definitely invest in to get a non-toxic mattress, because right now we have one that's like $300 on Amazon, and you can clearly tell it's just a bunch of cheap foams and other things that I don't want to be spending 1/3 of my life on. So definitely a mattress is in my near future. Liver detoxing is another great way to help your body reduce any stagnation. So taking bitter herbs, castor oil packs, these have been really beneficial for me to help all the lymph move and to just get my liver back to where it should be. Because, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, your body detoxes on its own naturally. And yes, I understand that. But the fact of the matter is we live in the 21st century, and we do have a lot of toxins that our body was never supposed to be introduced to. So just detoxing your liver is something that is really beneficial if you want to achieve better health. Heavy metals, I recently did a test. Well, I guess it's not so recent. It's like maybe almost a year ago, but that's still pretty recent. And it definitely showed that I'm super high in mercury. And, whether that be from medications that I was on, vaccines, food that I'm eating, like tuna or whatever, the soil, however it gets in your body, it's there. And noticing that it's there is the first step, and I've been trying to do my best with detoxing it. I've been taking a product called Advanced TRS, Toxin Removal Systems, and I've been having a hard time with that because I guess my body is more sensitive to removing these heavy metals. They've been there for probably a good majority of my life, and they don't want to leave. So I'm just continuing to work on that. And I think everybody should detox heavy metals. We all live in a extremely polluted world. You can't avoid the pollution. Even if you live in the Swiss Alps, you're still getting polluted rainwater from the ground below. So, even if you live in the cleanest environment, I still really recommend doing a heavy metal detox because it's not going to hurt. It's going to be beneficial no matter what. And I guess lastly would be belief. So your belief in healing and your mindset on healing is going to either hold you back or it's going to propel you forward. So if you don't believe that you can heal, then you're never going to get anywhere. So it's all about the belief and knowing that you're doing the right thing. And this is something that I really found when I invested in working with a functional nutritionist to better my health. It really did put my mind at ease because I had someone saying, okay, Megan, you are doing the right thing. You are going to start healing. You're going to be feeling better soon. And just having someone to be there and hold your hand through it and just say, yeah, you're doing the right thing. You're going to get better, and not always second guessing myself and, saying, am I missing something? And that's where I feel like working with someone is very beneficial because of the fact that it takes the guesswork out of it, and you have someone who's there for you to assist you with these hard times. So belief is really a huge thing for healing as well. And those are pretty much all the things that have worked for me. Of course, there are a lot of other things that I've done, but that would take up a lot of time to talk about that right now. So yeah, that's just what's helped me so far. But for me to say that all of these things will work 100% for you would definitely be very irresponsible because of our bio-individuality, meaning that what might work for me might not work for you because you might need support in other areas. And that would also be a huge disservice to my paying clients to say, hey, yeah, this is going to totally work for you, because that would definitely be a lie, because, you might need support in a different area of your life. And like I said, I still have symptoms of stomach issues and a little bit of skin issues, but it's definitely a lot more manageable. And I think the way that we look at health of perfection is not positive. I don't think that that's really a good thing of perfection, because, if you have a knee injury, your knee is probably never going to be the same after that knee injury. Like if you tear your ACL, I can almost guarantee you that your knee is always going to give you problems at some point in time because of the fact that it's been compromised. And that's why I say I want to be open and I want to be real about this kind of stuff. I'm not in 100% perfect health, but I do a pretty darn good job at keeping up with everything that I'm doing. And, that might be the same with some issues that you're going through. You might have room to improve, but there might not be room for improvement to get back to 100% depending on the severity of the damage. But, I'm not saying this to discourage you or to frighten you out of seeking help for something, but to inform you that it's not all what it's made out to be. A lot of people make it seem like, oh yeah, you're going to be healed 100%, but you're doing the best that you can. And I guess that's really what I'm getting at, is that you just have to meet your body where it's at and to do your best and to be accepting of where it's currently at right now, because there might be further healing in the future. It's really been a long journey to get myself to where I'm at right now, and I'm very proud of everything that I've done, and I'm really glad that I invested in working with someone for my health, because that's been tremendously helpful. And I guess we are at the 35-minute mark, so I'm going to end this podcast right now. So if you have any questions or comments, my Instagram is Megan Garza Wellness, all one word. If you like the podcast, let me know. Topic suggestions are welcome, so feel free to send me a DM on my Instagram or send a message through my website, megangarzawellness.com. And don't forget to grab my free gut healing and hormone healing cheat sheet in my Linktree. Once again, my Instagram is Megan Garza Wellness. Thanks for tuning into this podcast, Restoring Balance with Megan Garza, and be sure to check back next week for the next topic.